Let's hope is it working now? Okay. Of course, when the woman gets up, it turns off, right? How's everyone doing tonight? Yeah? We're all full and testing our spice limits. Yeah, that was delicious. So I'm Arab. Are there any Arabs here? Do we have any Arab people? Yeah, just one person, one sad person over there. Where are you from? Lebanon. From Lebanon. All right. Anyone else? Any other Arabs? That baby? Okay, cool. That baby just came alone. That would happen. A baby would come by. An Arab baby. Yalla, you're old enough. I'm Arab. I hate when people think, though, that we all come from the same place. Like, I had someone tell me last week, they were like, oh my God, I'm so sorry about what's happening in Syria. Is your family okay? Right, like, and I had to explain to them, well, actually, my family is Palestinian and they live in Alabama, so no, they're not okay. Not even a little bit. Thank you for asking. Anyone here from Alabama? Baby? No. At least you guys grew up in a community with other Muslims around. I absolutely did not. Everyone tells me now, they're like, man, it must be such a hard time to be Muslim right now, right? It's such a hard time. Except growing up in Alabama, it was never a good time to be Muslim or Arab. Like, I've never not lived in Trump's America. You know? Yeah, right. So welcome to my world, everybody. It's scary. One thing I hate is, like, every time you turn on the news, all you see is stuff from, like, terror attacks and people, that's all that they see about Muslims. And it makes us feel like we have to apologize for the things that extremists are doing. And I don't think that's fair because we never get to take credit for the good things that Muslims have done, you know, or like the good Muslims out there, like Amal Clooney, like she's awesome, we have to take credit for her. Or Dave Chappelle, he converted to Islam, he's very cool. And this other guy, even though he doesn't admit it, but we all know that he's Muslim, Obama. You know? Like, you're welcome, world. Yeah, that's right. I don't know. I think everyone wonders what happened, how my parents ended up there in Alabama. So back in the 70s, my parents immigrated from Palestine to Alabama, I guess because they were tired of being oppressed in a language they understood. You know what? Let's give this place a try. Let's be bullied in English. But people always ask me, of course, like, why did your parents move to Alabama, like, out of all places, right? And, like, it's a valid question. And I thought about it, and, you know, I think it actually makes sense because they needed to live in a place where cousins could get married. It's a natural move. There's only like 3 states that you can still do that in. So it makes sense. But when I lived in Alabama, my white friends would always have to prep their parents when they're meeting me so they wouldn't be like racist in front of me, you know what I mean? Like, Mom, Dad, this is Atheer, she's an Arab. Like Jasmine from Aladdin. Just something like really non-threatening. One girl's like, I told my dad that you're a Muslim and he said it was okay. Later on, he voted for Trump, so I don't think it's okay. He's probably changed his mind since. But yeah, people would always ask me like really dumb questions when I was in school in Alabama. Like, they'd be like, so did you grow up in a sand dune? Or, I know, it's ridiculous. One girl was like, so do you speak Jerusalemic or Islamic? I'm like, neither, but I understand racist perfectly. To be honest, like, I didn't really experience that much racism in Alabama, and I think that's because, like, before 9/11, they didn't really know enough about Arabs or Muslims to come up with, like, any good slurs, you know? So, like, in school, this is, like, the worst thing that they say. They'd be like, hey, you, why don't you go ride a camel? And I'm like, thanks, I will. It's literally the highlight of my summer. If you've never done it ride a camel. It's super fun. I think the most racist thing that's happened to me is when I moved to New York. So I've been living in New York for about 10 years now. And I was living in Harlem when I first moved there, and I was standing outside on the sidewalk, and this girl like was rollerblading and almost like knocked me down. So I turned around and gave her a look, and she goes back to me. She's like, "What the hell are you looking at, you stupid piece of white trash?" And I was like, you know, this would never happen in Alabama. Like, nobody's ever called me white. Of course, people would always try to guess my ethnicity, try to figure out like where I'm from. Like sometimes they'd be like, "So, what kind of Mexican are you?" Like the kind not from Mexico. Or sometimes they would try to like be a little bit coy about it and hint at my ethnicity in kind of weird ways. Like last time I was home over Thanksgiving, I was visiting my family, and I was at the mall, and I had this older white lady come up to me, and she's like, "You know, you look really international." Like, what does that even mean? I've never been compared to the United Nations, but I was actually conceived there. Maybe that's what you're picking up on right here. No. People always wonder, though, like, why I don't have a Southern accent, like, growing up in Alabama. And, you know, like, I grew up with immigrant parents. Like, it's a wonder that I could even speak English, you know. But I went to high school with this Mexican dude who had a really thick Southern accent, even when he spoke in Spanish. You know, like he sounded like someone who would vote for the wall, but then looked like the person who would be building it. I'm like, you gotta cut that out, dude. People are confused. It was important for my parents that they like preserved the Arab Muslim culture, but they still wanted to give my family or my brothers and I like a normal American childhood. So like, for example, like at birthday parties, like when I was a kid, like my friends would have a piñata and I would have a lamb that was sacrificed in my honor. You know, just what every 6-year-old wants. Offering your friends some like lamb brains. Like, who doesn't want that? Or like at my friends' parties, they would have like twister mats, and my dad would have prayer rugs laid out for everybody. You know, you just never know. But I grew up like really sheltered. I didn't know what was going on in people's lives in high school. Like I had no life. Like on Friday nights, like when my classmates were out like getting drunk and rolling weed, I was at home drinking Turkish coffee and rolling grape leaves with my mother. Like that was my life. It wasn't until one day in high school, one of my classmates came up to me one day and she was like, "Dude, I got like really stoned last night." I was like, "Oh my God, what did you do to piss your dad off?" I know it's a little dark, but that joke kills in Saudi Arabia. Okay, you can clap for Saudi Arabia. That's fine. My dad was very, very overprotective. Like when I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to, go over to my friend's house or watch a movie because my dad was afraid that my American friends were going to corrupt me or like show me something like really inappropriate. So like my dad kept things real halal at home. Like he wouldn't even let us watch movies with Kevin Bacon in them, you know. You don't want to take a chance. Start getting some ideas, maybe. No, better safe than sorry. I don't know. My dad kind of tried to blend into the South a little bit. Like he had a gun when we were growing up, which was terrifying because like he never used it or really knew how except once a year on the 4th of July to celebrate. He would just shoot it up in the air instead of fireworks because those were illegal somehow. I don't know if it's like an Arab thing or a white person thing, but he was scaring everybody in the neighborhood. And I was like, Dad, like, you're the only Arab Muslim in an all-white neighborhood. Like, you don't need a gun for protection. You're the reason everyone else has one. You know? Is anyone else here from the South, or is everyone from New Jersey? Yeah. Wow, no one's ever left? You're like, I found my people. This is the most Muslims I've ever been around. This is great. Even in college, so I lived in Alabama throughout college. I went to a really small, like, Southern Baptist school where there was, like, no diversity whatsoever. It was, like, 99% white people and me. Like, the closest I got to another Arab there was Jesus, you know? We were very tight. Guys, tell me what you think about this. I read this study that says that the name that your parents give you influences your personality and who you grow up to be. Do you guys think there's some truth to that? Maybe some of you, I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's always true because I grew up with a kid named Jihad. Yeah, and he's just an accountant now for ISIS. So, I don't know. I assume they need to file their taxes somehow. Someone does it. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not like the most religious Muslim, but I still try to be a good person because I want to get into heaven. But you guys know, like in Islam, it's kind of competitive. There's like 7 levels of heaven, right? Like the more good you do, the higher level you get into. Like the prophets are in the highest level. Except I'm not really an overachiever, you guys. Trying to get into like PhD heaven. like I just want to barely make it by. Like I'll even do a summer in hell if I have to. Good, I'm not the only one. Okay, good to know. This is called the Muslims for Peace. It's kind of crazy that we have to specify we're Muslims, but we're for peace, you know? We're Muslim. It's like it's not like the default setting. It's like we always have to qualify it. No, we're the good Muslims, you guys. We're the good ones. Yeah. But I honestly think it's like crazy to fight over religion because like we have a lot more in common than, you know, people really think. I think if we focus on the similarities, the world would be a much better place, right? Like we'd have more peace. Yeah, sure. Thank you. I'm just giving a speech right now in the middle of my... No, it's true. And like, for example, like the 3 major religions have a lot in common. And this is just a really small example of something that they all share. And you guys can look this up in the Bible, the Torah, and the Quran. They all talk about heaven the exact same way. They all refer to it as a paradise land flowing with milk and honey. And that's like one small thing we can all agree on, that vegans are going to hell, right? That's what I got from that. I didn't make it up. No. Are there any vegans in the audience? I will have to ask. No? What? We're too weak to hold our hands up? No, I'm sure there is somebody. No, honestly, if there are any vegans in the audience, I swear I have nothing against you. Some of my best friends are self-righteous, so it's totally fine. Shahrar was talking about having Muslim meals on the plane. That reminded me of my family. Whenever we would travel to Palestine and back, like my parents would always order a kosher meal, even though halal was available. I guess they knew better because like kosher and halal are pretty much the same thing, except when you order a kosher meal, they let you back into the country. So just a little tip for you guys. Make sure you do that. But I know, like, you know, there's been historically, like, Jews and Muslims haven't always gotten along. And, like, again, we're like, we have a lot in common. And, like, we both, like, believe in circumcision for the male baby. And this is, like, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but a few years ago, Germany actually tried to outlaw circumcisions. And this, like, pissed off the Muslim and Jewish community so bad that they actually, like, teamed up and fought against this law, which is crazy. Like, this is the common ground that they found. You know, like, this is where we draw the line. Like, you'd think, like, circumcisions are just the tip of their problems, you know? Okay, that's a silly pun. I'm going to cut it out. But they teamed up and they fought against this law and they won. And I guess it's kind of like that saying goes, you know, like the enemy of my enemy is, say it with me, foreskin. Yes. Some of you are afraid to laugh. But I see you trying. Hold on. I time myself so I don't take up too much time. I'll just tell a few more jokes. Okay, and then get out of here. Is anyone else here disappointing their parents with their career choices? Oh, yes, a few people. Salman, yes. What do you do for a living?
I work in IT.
You work in IT? Only brown parents would be disappointed by that. Like, why aren't you a doctor? Yeah. Or a lawyer, an engineer. That's what I love about immigrant parents, though, because they make their kids become doctors, lawyers, and engineers. And like white parents let their kids become DJs. So they just have unconditional love. When I was a kid, I wished my parents were white so I could do anything I wanted and they could still love me, you know. But when I first started doing comedy, my mom like wasn't super thrilled about it. She called me up like really frantically from Alabama, and she's like, Atheer, I haven't told your father yet you're doing the standing comedy. I don't know how to tell him. And I was like, Mom, it's not a big deal. You know, I'm just telling jokes. It's not like I'm on stage stripping. She's like, I know that, Atheer. Strippers are making money. So she kind of had a point, I guess. Like now, every time, like when I'm in Alabama, she's literally, so I work as a nutritionist in the daytime. That still wasn't good enough for my mom. So she'd always make my job sound like way more important than it actually was. Like she literally introduced me to her friends once as a doctor of food, you guys. I'm like, yeah, I share an office with Dr. Pepper. Like what? But like now that I'm a comedian, she doesn't do that anymore. She just stopped introducing me to anybody. So, of course, like the next best thing to like being a doctor is like marrying a doctor, right? Clap if you're married to a doctor here. Man or woman, it's 2018, people. We're married to doctors, so your parents must have been really proud. Or are you the doctor? Look at me being biased. You're married to a doctor. Yeah, my mom, like after I turned 30, she stopped caring what kind of doctor, you know? It could be like a doctor of history, like a doctor of art. She's just, like I think if like Trump had a medical degree, she'd like, Atheer, give him a chance, you know? No man is perfect. No, I actually, yeah, so ever since I turned 30, every year my family is like reminding me that my biological clock is ticking. I'm getting older. I need to have kids. Like when my parents first saw that show, 16 and Pregnant, they're like, that poor girl, why did she wait so long? I know, it's sad. But no, I did get engaged this year, so not all hope is lost. Yes, thank you, thank you. It happened. Yes, thank you so much. My mom was thrilled, and my dad. Yeah, he's also Palestinian and Muslim like myself, so I'm just happy that I finally found the man of my mom's dreams. Going really great. People always want to know how we met. We actually met at a wedding, which is kind of a cute story because my parents also met at a wedding, except it was their own. So It wasn't a surprise, though. It was kind of a surprise, but, you know, they're related, so they must have seen each other somewhere at their grandparents' house. But they are. But before I got engaged, like, of course, my mom was trying to set me up. Everybody was trying to set me up. Even, like, in New York, like, I get mistaken for Jewish a lot. So I always have these, like, old Jewish grandmothers trying to set me up with their grandkids all the time. But, like, nothing shuts that down faster than telling them, oh, I'm not from the Upper West Side. I'm actually from the Upper West Bank. So, sorry. Even my building manager, he's like this really hardcore Israeli guy, and he keeps calling me Miss Yacoub, which is the Hebrew version of my last name, Yacoub. So I'm pretty sure that he thinks that I'm Jewish or Israeli, and like we have a good relationship, so I don't want to like ruin that. You're like, I don't want to come out and tell him that I'm actually Palestinian because like I don't want to come home one day and find him living in my apartment. Oh, okay, that took a second. You know, like next thing you know, he'll tell me apartment 22 never even existed. Thank you guys so much. Keep it going for all the comics you've seen tonight.
Yes.